So, get your books open to page 114. We're going to look up these words and answer some questions about them as we work through the definitions. Who can tell me in as few of words as possible what is an adaptation? Aliyah?
It's like something that increases. Like a person that increases.
What do you mean by it increases? What does it increase?
To survive.
Their chance of survival. Yeah, it's just, let's write that. That's pretty good. A characteristic. So on these, this is a kind of a weird thing. We'll write the definition up here in this area, and then we'll answer the question under it. Okay? So an adaptation is a characteristic. A characteristic that increases, and we'll call it an organism, an organism's ability to survive. To survive and reproduce in its environment. A characteristic that increases an organism's ability to survive and reproduce in its environment. Give you a second to get that down. So yesterday we kind of skimmed over that and we said it helps it survive. Why is it also important that it has to be able to reproduce? Kinley?
So its species doesn't go extinct.
Yeah, so its species doesn't go extinct. So if it's not able to survive, then it can't reproduce, but it's a characteristic that increases an organism's ability to survive and reproduce in its environment. Okay, and yesterday we talked about like that mangrove tree. Its roots are up above the ground. How has it adapted? What were some adaptations that that plant has had? Aiden?
Like the water can just flow through it, like if there's a big heavy storm.
Okay, it allows the water to flow through so it's not tipped over. And it said the roots also take in oxygen, okay, to help it survive. So then it's talking about humans under there. What are human adaptations that help them survive? What is an adaptation that humans have? We talked about one yesterday. Addie? Our thumbs, okay? Human thumbs, the ability, we'll just put hands with thumbs. Okay, hands with thumbs. Oops, Thumbs. Hands with thumbs. If we didn't have our thumbs, it would be really hard to do a lot of things. Just imagine writing, taking notes without a thumb. Okay, try and keep your thumb in. Well, you wouldn't have that thumb to hold it. It'd almost be like, you'd almost have to like wrap it back here to pretend it's not there. Okay, but yeah, hands with thumbs is an adaptation of humans. Jackson? So that's more of a gene, a trait, okay, which we get into genes and traits and all of that. But does your earlobe being attached or not attached help you survive in any way? No. So it does have to do with this lesson, but that's not necessarily an adaptation. That's just a gene that does that. Elise? But that's not an adaptation. An adaptation is something that has helped us survive over the years. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up Google. No telling what we're going to find. Let's see here. Let's see.
What are 5 human adaptations?
The best example of human genetic adaptation to climate. That's climate. Okay, so walking upright. Okay, we have learned to walk upright in order to survive, makes life easier. Endurance, running, it says sweating. Did we have to teach ourselves to sweat? No, but why? Does anybody know why we sweat? Why is that important? Why is it important to sweat? Wyatt? It has to do with cooling. I agree with that. Augie?
Because whenever you sweat, the water droplets also have salt in them, I think.
Well, that's bad. If we lose the salt in our body, we're dehydrate. Like that, we could get dehydrated. Aiden? So we have to rehydrate with water.
Like the water that we produce, like it takes away heat or it's cold.
It does cool you off, okay? That's a way of your body to not overheat, okay? If you're really hot, your body produces sweat, and that is a way to cool you down. Hearing tuned for speech. I guess our hearing has developed in order to help us survive, okay? But again, opposable thumbs is the most common one that we talk about. So this is talking about long necks of giraffes. You're not a giraffe. What are modern human adaptations? We're modern. So it says, emerged recently include the ability to free dive for long periods of time, living in high altitudes where oxygen concentrations are low. So that would be like in Colorado. Raise your hand if you've ever been to Colorado. Okay, when you go high up in the mountains, what is it hard to do? Breathe. So humans have adapted to living in those areas where it's hard to breathe at high altitudes. Carter, can you stop? Okay, so that's just a few. Opposable thumbs is the one we talk about a lot in here. But it's really anything that has happened over time to help us survive and reproduce. The next one was mutation. Mutation. Find mutation in the book. Find mutation in the book. I don't know that it's is it a yellow word? Okay, it's not a yellow word. What page is it on, Braylon? 116. Everybody go to 116. See if you can find a definition for mutation. Kinley, stop. Elise.
Mutation is harmful to the plant.
Hold on, that's not a definition. You're giving me a sentence about mutation. Aubrey. Okay, what did you find? It's a random change in a gene. Mutation is a random change in a gene. Okay, to give you kind of an easy example for you to visualize, if there's a whole bunch of pink flowers, we'll say lilies, okay? Oh, are lilies pink? Are there pink lilies? Sure there are. Okay, if there's a whole row of pink lilies and one yellow lily, okay, that yellow lily probably sprouted from those pink lilies, but what's different about it? The color. So there was probably some kind of mutation in it, in its genes, that made it randomly change. It's a random change in a gene. It's still a lily, it's just something was a little bit off about it. Give an example of what a mutation could change. Look in the book, see if it gives us any ideas. Page 115, 116. So Fisher, where's your science book? Because we've been looking in it for about 10 minutes now. Elia, did you find something? But that's what genes do, is that we assume that if there's a whole row of pink flowers, the seeds from those pink flowers would create pink flowers. A mutation would cause yellow flowers, so it's different. But what other things could mutations cause besides a change in color? Aubrey? Yeah, so it could cause, like, let's say if you could see underground. Let's say we plant a bunch of flowers in a glass clear pot where we can see the roots. If we plant the same kinds of flowers, we expect the roots to be about the same length. But if there's a mutation in the plant, maybe it could create longer roots for one of the flowers. So it may cause a plant to grow longer roots than normal. Anything else? Aiden? Okay, besides, we gave that one. What else was in the book? There's another one. Yeah, so a mutation might make a plant, may cause a plant to grow longer roots than normal, or it may cause, I'm just going to say it instead of plant again, cause it to not be able to produce, I'm going to put wax-y leaves. So mutations can be good or mutations can be bad. They're not all good, they're not all bad. So let's just talk about our two examples. How could a plant growing longer roots be harmful? How may that be harmful? How may that be harmful if a plant has roots that are longer than normal? Ava?
Might need more nutrients and take up all of it.
So they might be too low to get some of the nutrients and food? Is that what you're saying?
It might take the food from other plants.
Okay, well that would be good for it. It's just worried about itself. It's not worried about its neighbors. So I'm going to go with Ava because she gave me a positive reason. If the water's down deep in the ground or if there's no other plants down there, it gets all of the water and all of the nutrients way down deep in the soil. So that would be a helpful mutation for that one. If the water's down deep, it gets all of that water and all of that nutrients to itself. Okay, usually longer roots also helps with the stability of the flower so it's doesn't get tipped over when it's windy. What would be harmful to have long roots? Aiden?
Like it might need more nutrients.
Okay, you think longer roots means it needs more nutrients? Or if the nutrients are up close to the soil, let's say we're in a desert, is there much water way down deep? Nope, so then it wouldn't have enough water and it might die. Waxy leaves. Why do you think some plants need waxy leaves? What do you think it protects it from? Aiden?
Sunlight.
From what?
Sunlight.
What?
Or getting too much sunlight.
You think getting too much sunlight?
Oh, water.
Water. Okay, lets it run down maybe from insects eating them. If they're waxier, insects might not eat them as much. Okay, the next one is, mine's different than yours, succession. Mine's backwards. What was succession? What was succession in the book? What was succession? Ava?
Is the predictable order of changes after change occurs?
Yeah, and that's kind of a weird definition because it has the word change in it twice, and it's talking about two different versions of that word. So let's write it, and then we'll discuss it some more. So the predictable order. What does it mean if something is predictable? What does it mean if it's predictable, Carter? Yeah, you know what's going to happen before it happens. The predictable order of changes in communities after a change occurs. Okay, and that second change is like a major change, like after a major thing occurs, like a forest fire. After a forest fire happens, the forest is gone. What is a predictable order of change after that? Elise, what would we expect to happen first?
All the animals would leave.
Okay, the animals have left. Why did they leave, Fisher? Huh? Because they have no what? Resources. They don't have food. They don't have water. They don't have shelter. The basic necessities. Food, water, shelter. They don't have those because everything burned down. So the animals are gone. What do we expect to happen after that, Gabe?
So is the fire out?
The fire's out. We got the fire out.
Grass would start growing.
So grass would start growing eventually. Does it grow very quickly?
No.
No, but after a while, some grass would start to come up out of all the ashes. Okay? After some grass appears, what may come next? Ava?
Insects and stuff.
Maybe not quite yet. Give it a little bit more time. Jackson?
Like trees.
Not trees yet. Trees take lots and lots of time. Addie? Shrubs and bushes, okay? More like weeds, not bushes you would probably have in your front yard that are like nicely trimmed, like messy bushes, kind of weed-like bushes would start to appear. Then once we have some grass and some shrubbery, then what's going to show up, Ava? Some insects. Gabe? Possibly, what do birds live in? So they usually don't come till the trees are more mature, okay? But some seedling trees would start growing. After many, many years, we would have some developed trees. Animals would start returning once their resources have returned. So how does a warming climate affect an environment? How does a warming climate, how does the climate getting warmer affect the environment? What do you think? Warming climate affect an environment. Gabe?
People might start to sweat more.
Okay, let's talk about more the living things that live there besides humans. Let's focus on the environment outside of the human environment, the plants and animals. How can a warming climate affect the plants and animals in an environment? Carter? Okay, if it's too warm, we're not saying like we're going to light a match to it. Let's just say it's getting hotter than usual. Let's say the climate's getting hotter than usual. How may that affect the plants and the animals in that environment? Jackson?
They could like dry up.
Okay, if they don't do what?
If they don't get enough like water, enough water, they don't get up.
Okay, if they don't get enough water, they could potentially die. Okay, Augie?
All the water will be evaporating, so
Augie? Dang it, Gabe. Haven't done that in a while.
That was the first quarter stuff. The animals and plants are going to need more water.
Okay, so they would need more water. So what would the plants and animals do, and it's easier for the animals than the plants, if their climate that they live in is getting too warm for them to live in? Aiden? What can the animals do?
they look, once the water dries up, the plants will dry up, and then the herbivores, the life cycle, the food chain just keeps going, on, and once that population, they don't have enough water to keep going, so the population just.
They're not all just going to die. They're smarter than that. They're not all just going to sit there and be like, I need water. Nobody's giving me water. I need water. Aubrey, what will those plants or insects and animals, plants can't do it. They will go to where there is water, okay? Some of you would survive. Some of you would sit there and be like, I need water. Somebody bring me water. I think we have a little bit of both in here. Some of you, if you were thirsty, you would go find water. Some of you would just sit there and say, water. Somebody bring me water. Which one do I prefer, UB? The one, go solve the problem, okay? In the environment, in nature, it's called survival of the fittest. If you are thirsty, you go find water. If you can't find water, you die. Okay, that's how it works in nature. Some of you guys might not make it too long, okay? So, how does a warming climate affect the environment? It could affect positively and negatively. I'm going to put organisms that need a cooler climate may leave. Okay, because in order to survive, they may need to get out of that warm climate in order to survive. But who may move in? Yeah, organisms who like that warm climate and thrive in that warm climate may come into the warmer climate. Organisms that need a cooler climate may leave, and ones that enjoy, we'll put enjoy, a warm climate may come, may move in. Sounds better. Now, it's easier for the animals and insects because they are able to fly away, walk away, however, crawl away. Plants, they either have to adapt or they die. Okay, they have to adapt, meaning there has to be a change in them that gets deeper roots so it can get water deeper down in the soil. Or they have to figure out a way to use less water because they're not getting as much water. Okay, that's where the adaptations come in. If they don't adapt to the new environment, they would die off. Genes. Was this one in the book? Elia?
Something that you and your parents both have.
So you do get them from your parents. Plants get them from their plant parents. Dogs get them from their dog parents. Carter?
Instructions that determine how the plant grows.
Yeah, so it's really, it's instructions, because that word makes sense to you guys. Instructions, and since we're focusing on plants in lesson 2, that's why we're saying plants. So instructions that determine how plants grow. But in humans, it would be how humans grow. In dogs, it would be how dogs grow. Instructions that determine how plants grow. So that would be the stuff inside the flower that when it sprouts, it has pink flowers, or it's about 2 feet tall, or it's about 6 inches tall, or it has big leaves, or it has small leaves. Does it have a flimsy stem or a really sturdy stem? Those are all determined by the genes of the flower, which are, yes, handed down by its quote-unquote parents, or the flowers that came together to make that new plant. Why might plants be different from their parents? Why might some plants look different than their parents? Mason, do you look like your mom? Do you look like your dad?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you look like your mom?
Well, I have the hair, but well.
Who can answer that? Why does Mason look like his dad and not his mom? Gabe?
Because you can't look like both of your mom and your dad.
Yes, because you're inheriting 2 different sets of genes. Every single person is inheriting 2 different sets of genes. You can't have blue eyes and brown eyes. You can, one of each. I know a couple people like that, but that's a mutation. Okay, that's not normal. That is a mutation in the gene. You can't inherit 2 full sets of genes. So your parents' genes kind of mix and match to make you. You're inheriting 2 separate sets of genetics, and they kind of mix and match to make a whole new person. So, in as few words as possible, genes are inherited from both parents. And again, we're focusing on plants, but this is true for every living thing. From both parents, and they may have different characteristics. So if your mom has blonde hair and your dad has blonde hair,
You're going to have blonde hair.
you will probably have blonde hair, but why may you have brown hair? Why may you have brown hair even though your mom has blonde hair and your dad has blonde hair? Gabe?
Because mom plus blonde equals brown.
No? Kinley?
Because your parents might have.
Your parents came from 2 different sets of genetics, and maybe grandma had blonde hair, but grandpa had brown hair. So when those genetics came together and made your mom with blonde hair, she still had some brown genetics in her, and maybe some of those trickled on down to you. Okay? But it's all about genetics. You have lots of different genes inside of you. That's what made you you. You have some characteristics of your mom, some characteristics of your dad. Okay, last one on yours is natural selection, right? Okay, everybody have this one so I can scroll on down? Natural selection. I'm just going to write this one. Our book says over many generations, small mutations can add up to surprising adaptations. This process allows organisms to grow useful mutations and reduces the harmful ones. So, I'm going to try and shorten that. Over time, long time, generations. We'll just put over time, but it's a long period of time. The process of mutations becoming adaptations. So in parentheses, or I'm going to put another bullet point. Keep useful mutations and reduce harmful ones. And we're going to talk about that real quick. So that would be like, let's talk about the plant with the long roots. Okay? If that plant with the long roots is getting more water and thriving on it, when it reproduces, what's probably going to happen to its offspring? It's probably going to have long roots because it has that gene now for long roots. If it's a useful adaptation, or if it's a useful mutation, like it was a random, that's a weird flower, it has long roots, but it's like, hey, that weird flower is getting a lot of resources, so it keeps that, okay? And then it becomes normal for those flowers to have long roots. If that wasn't useful, what's probably going to happen to that flower? It's going to die. So will it be able to reproduce? No. So then that harmful or unuseful mutation is kind of discontinued. It's not passed on to future generations because that plant did not survive it. Why is natural selection seen as a helpful or positive factor? Why do you think it's considered positive? What has to happen? What did we say the purpose of adaptations is? Because natural selection is finding mutations and either keeping them as adaptations or getting rid of them. Fisher. It allows the organisms to survive and reproduce. They allow organisms to survive and reproduce. Okay, and like I told you, you do have a worksheet tonight. I was hoping you'd have some time to work on it. I will tell you it's a book worksheet. It's not one made by me and Miss Beer. Those tend to be a lot shorter. Okay, so it's just one of these. It has 3 vocab words and then 3 questions. So 6 questions altogether. Okay, I'm going to stop my recording. You got it, Wyatt? Got everything? So I have to click X.